Azure Platform as a Service, PaaS, provides a cloud environment for developing, managing, and hosting applications. It offers a range of services like databases, storage, and networking, enabling developers to focus on coding without worrying about infrastructure management. PaaS is ideal for building scalable web applications, APIs, and microservices. This presentation will delve into configuring service endpoints for Azure PaaS, ensuring secure and efficient connectivity between your virtual network and Azure services. Service endpoints extend your virtual network private address space to Azure services, allowing secure access without the need for public IP addresses. They provide a direct connection to Azure services over the Azure Backbone network, enhancing security and performance. By enabling service endpoints, you can restrict access to your Azure resources, ensuring that only traffic from your virtual network can reach them. This is crucial for maintaining a secure and compliant cloud environment. Service endpoints offer several benefits, including improved security by eliminating exposure to the public internet, enhanced performance through direct connections over the Azure backbone, and simplified network architecture by reducing the need for complex routing configurations. They also provide better control over network traffic, allowing you to enforce network security policies more effectively. These benefits make service endpoints a valuable feature for any Azure PaaS deployment. Service endpoints support a variety of Azure services, including Azure Storage, Azure SQL Database, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Key Vault, and more. Each service can be configured to accept traffic only from specific virtual networks, enhancing security and compliance. Understanding which services support service endpoints is crucial for designing a secure and efficient network architecture in Azure. This slide will explore the supported services in detail, providing examples and use cases for each. Configuring service endpoints involves several steps. First, you need to identify the virtual network and subnet that will connect to the Azure service. Next, you enable the service endpoint for the desired Azure service on the selected subnet. Finally, you configure the Azure service to accept traffic only from the specified virtual network. This process ensures that your Azure resources are securely accessible only from your virtual network, reducing the risk of unauthorized access. To configure service endpoints, follow these steps. 1. Navigate to the Azure portal and select your virtual network. 2. Choose the subnet where you want to enable the service endpoint. 3. Click on Service Endpoints and select the desired Azure service. 4. Enable the service endpoint and save your changes. 5. Configure the Azure service to accept traffic only from the specified virtual network. This guide provides a detailed walkthrough of each step, ensuring a smooth and successful configuration process. When configuring service endpoints, it's important to follow best practices to ensure optimal security and performance. These include using network security groups, NSGs, to control traffic flow, regularly reviewing and updating endpoint configurations, and monitoring network traffic for unusual activity. Additionally, consider using Azure Policy to enforce endpoint configurations across your organization, ensuring consistent security and compliance. This slide will provide detailed recommendations and examples of best practices. Configuring service endpoints can present several challenges, such as misconfigured network security groups, overlapping IP address ranges, and connectivity issues. To address these challenges, ensure that your NSGs are correctly configured to allow traffic to the Azure service, avoid overlapping IP address ranges between your virtual network and Azure services, and use Azure Network Watcher to diagnose and resolve connectivity issues. This slide will explore common challenges in detail and provide practical solutions for each. Monitoring and troubleshooting are critical components of managing service endpoints. Use Azure Monitor to track the performance and health of your endpoints and set up alerts to notify you of any issues. Azure Network Watcher provides tools for diagnosing connectivity problems, such as connection troubleshoot and IP flow verify. Regularly review logs and metrics to identify and resolve issues promptly. This slide will cover the tools and techniques for effective monitoring and troubleshooting of service endpoints. To illustrate the practical application of service endpoints, we'll explore a case study of a real-world implementation. This case study will detail how a company used service endpoints to secure their Azure Storage and Azure SQL database the challenges they faced, and the solutions they implemented. By examining this real-world example, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the benefits and best practices for configuring service endpoints in Azure PaaS environments. For more advanced configurations, consider using service endpoint policies to control access to specific Azure resources, or combining service endpoints with private endpoints for even greater security. Service endpoint policies allow you to define granular access controls, specifying which virtual networks can access specific resources. Private endpoints provide a private IP address for your Azure resources, ensuring that all traffic remains within the Azure backbone network. This slide will explore these advanced configurations in detail. Security is a top priority when configuring service endpoints. Ensure that your virtual network and Azure services are protected by network security groups, and regularly review your endpoint configurations for potential vulnerabilities. Use Azure Policy to enforce security standards across your organization, and consider implementing additional security measures, such as Azure Firewall or Azure DDoS protection. This slide will provide detailed security considerations and recommendations for protecting your Azure PaaS environment. While service endpoints themselves do not incur additional costs, the Azure services they connect to may have associated costs based on usage. It's important to monitor and manage these costs to avoid unexpected expenses. Use Azure Cost Management and Billing to track your spending, set budgets, and analyze cost trends. Additionally, consider using Azure Reserved Instances or Azure Hybrid Benefit to reduce costs for long-term workloads. This slide will provide tips and strategies for effective cost management. As Azure continues to evolve, new features and enhancements for service endpoints are likely to be introduced. Stay informed about the latest developments by following Azure updates and announcements. Future trends may include improved integration with other Azure services, enhanced security features, and more granular access controls. By staying up to date with these trends, you can ensure that your Azure PaaS environment remains secure, efficient, and cost-effective. This slide will explore potential future trends and developments in service endpoints. In conclusion, configuring service endpoints for Azure PaaS is a crucial step in securing and optimizing your cloud environment. By extending your virtual network to Azure services, you can enhance security, improve performance, and simplify network architecture. Key takeaways include understanding the benefits of service endpoints, following best practices for configuration, and staying informed about future trends. By implementing these strategies, you can ensure a secure and efficient Azure PaaS deployment. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you found this presentation informative and valuable.